My name's Nate. I'm 29, and up until last fall, I genuinely thought I was going to marry the woman I'd been with for nearly 4 years. Her name was Kayla, and we met the cliché way, friends of friends at a rooftop party downtown. She was wearing this sunflower yellow dress that she hated because she thought it clashed with her skin tone. But to me, she looked like the brightest thing in the room. I still remember the first thing she ever said to me. "You look like the kind of guy who takes his shoes off at the movies." I don't, but I played along. I always played along with her. That was the beginning. I fell fast and hard. We moved in together after a year and a half, partly because rent was ridiculous, and partly because we were doing that thing where you start looking at your partner like they're home. I handled the finances more than she did. Kayla was charming, magnetic, and all over the place. She hopped between jobs, dreams, and friends, while I stayed grounded. I worked remote IT support for a healthcare company, which meant I was always around, always available, always the guy picking up slack quietly in the background. She called me Mr. Reliable, and at first, it sounded like affection. Over time, it felt more like a label. Like I was the safety net she used until she got bored. Things started to shift about 6 months ago. She began going out more. First, it was just girls' nights on Fridays. Then it became weekends with vague plans. I didn't want to be the insecure boyfriend, so I gave her space, but that space started to feel like a canyon. I'd wake up and her side of the bed was still cold from the night before. She started talking about feeling stagnant, about how she hadn't figured herself out yet. I listened. I encouraged her. She signed up for an online creative writing class, which was great, until the texts from Josh started lighting up her phone at weird hours. I wasn't snooping. She showed me some of them at first. "Just a classmate," she said. "Just a guy who liked her short stories." Then came the night. It was a Tuesday of all days. I was making dinner, grilled chicken and pasta, because she always teased me for being a creature of habit. She came in, didn't kiss me hello, and sat down like her bones were too heavy. I knew something was coming. She wouldn't look at me directly. She toyed with her bracelet, a nervous habit. Then she said it. "I need space. Time, I mean. I've been thinking a lot, and I want to explore other options. Maybe not just romantically, but just in life. I feel like I'm missing something, and I don't want to resent you for holding me back." Holding her back? That was the part that stuck in my chest like a dull knife. I didn't say anything for a full minute. I remember the chicken started to burn on the stove, and the smoke detector chirped softly in the background. She didn't flinch. I turned off the stove, sat down across from her, and asked her if she was leaving for good. "No," she said. "I just need time. Maybe a couple months. I'll crash with friends. I don't want to lose what we have. I just want to be sure." I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I told her okay. I told her I wanted her to be happy. Then I helped her pack. She only took 2 suitcases and said she'd be back for the rest. I watched her walk out the door like it wasn't the last time I'd see her, even though somewhere deep in my gut, I knew it was. At first, I gave myself exactly 1 day to grieve. I let myself rot in bed, binge-watching old sitcoms and ignoring texts from friends. But the next morning, I woke up with a kind of clarity I hadn't felt in years. Maybe ever. The apartment was quieter, emptier, but it didn't feel worse. It felt like possibility, like fresh air. And for the first time in a long time, I let myself wonder what life could be like without constantly making room for someone who only saw me as a backup plan. I didn't wait around. I canceled our shared Spotify, removed her name from the lease, called the landlord, and let him know I'd be ending the contract at the end of the month. I got boxes from a liquor store 2 blocks down and started sorting. Anything that wasn't mine went into a pile. Her things, her books, her little jewelry dish shaped like a seashell, her stupid Himalayan salt lamp that she never used but insisted made the apartment feel calmer. All of it went into neatly labeled boxes. But the thing that really pushed me to make it permanent? A week after she left, I ran into one of her friends, Ashley, at the coffee shop near my gym. We weren't close, but she'd always been friendly. She gave me this half smile and said, "So, how are you holding up?" I didn't think Kayla would actually go through with it. She and Josh were getting kind of intense. Josh, of course. I played dumb, said I was doing fine, but something in me clicked. She didn't need time to figure herself out. She wanted to test drive someone else and keep me in the garage, just in case he didn't work out. I was the fallback plan. Mr. Reliable. Plan B with a pulse. That night, I stayed up until 3 a.m. apartment hunting. Found a loft 30 minutes away. Cheaper rent, smaller space, but it had a big window that overlooked the park. A week later, I signed the lease. I hired movers. I told the landlord to forward any of her remaining mail to her parents' house, since that was the last address I had on file. I didn't tell Kayla. I didn't block her either. I just disappeared from her world the same way she disappeared from mine. Quiet, clean, like smoke slipping through a crack in the window. 2 months later, she texted me at 11:42 p.m. "Hey, I've been thinking. Can we talk?" I didn't answer. The next morning, she called. I didn't answer that either. By the third day, her texts got longer. Apologies, confusion, nostalgia. She said she missed me, said she hadn't felt the same with anyone else, and realized she might have made a mistake. She wanted to stop by the apartment and talk. Clear the air. Maybe try again. She still had her key. That was the thing. She thought she had a key. And that's when I knew she had no idea what was waiting for her when she showed up. Because that key, that life, that version of me, all of it was long gone. The next Saturday, I took the morning off just to drive by the old apartment, even though I wasn't living there anymore. Not out of sentiment. Not really. More like curiosity. Like the same way you look up your ex's Instagram, even though you know you shouldn't. It was weird seeing the building again. It looked smaller, somehow. The front door had new paint. The buzzer panel had a smudge where her name used to be, back when we'd both scribbled K+N with a Sharpie on the bottom corner like teenagers. I'd replaced the locks before I left, not just to be practical, but because I didn't want there to be any trace of that life lingering. I watched for maybe 20 minutes, sipping burnt coffee from the gas station, and then I left. No one came. But that night, she showed up again in my inbox. "Kayla, I came by. Your neighbor said you moved? Is this a joke?" I almost replied. Almost. But something about her phrasing just confirmed what I already suspected. She never really saw me. She expected me to wait, to stay right where she left me, frozen in time, while she tested the waters with someone shinier, someone exciting. And now, when it didn't work out, when the novelty faded, she thought she could circle back and pick up where we left off. I didn't reply. Instead, I logged out of that email for the night. I opened my new one, a clean slate. And for the first time in years, I started writing again. Something I'd given up because Kayla always said it was a hobby, not a hustle. Ironic, given the creative journey she left me for. Over the next few days, the messages picked up. She messaged my cousin, asking if I was okay. She DM'd my friend Jason and asked him to check on me. I knew she was fishing, and honestly, I didn't blame her. I think part of her was genuinely stunned. Because the version of me she thought she could manipulate, the quiet guy who always said yes, who always paid the bills, who never pushed back, was gone. Then she tried a different tactic. The guilt trip. "Kayla, you're being cruel. I didn't cheat. I just needed space. You could at least have the decency to talk to me." That one made me pause. Because for a second, just 1 second, I almost felt bad. We did share years together. Good memories, even if they were tinted now. But that word, decency, rubbed me the wrong way. Because where was that decency when she left me half a plate of cold pasta and a vague apology? Where was that when she decided I was a safety net instead of a partner? I let it sit. No reply. But I wasn't done. Not yet. I still had one of her boxes in my storage unit, the one she never came back for. I'd kept it locked up, not because I was holding on, but because I'd forgotten it was there. Inside were little things, a Polaroid camera, old notebooks, that candle she said reminded her of fall in New York. And sitting on top, stuffed in a canvas tote bag, was a small hardcover journal. I'd never seen it before. I didn't want to read it at first. It felt like a violation. But curiosity's a tricky thing. It doesn't knock politely. It barges in. So I opened it. Most of the pages were scattered thoughts, poetry, lists of things she wanted to do in her 30s. But one entry, dated 3 weeks before she left, stopped me cold. "Sometimes I wonder if Nate will ever stop being so safe. I know that sounds awful. He's a good man. He's stable. But I feel like I'm aging 10 years every time we sit on that same couch and watch reruns. He'll never leave me, I know that. He's too good for that. And maybe that's the problem." I closed the journal. And for once, I didn't feel pain. I felt clarity. She never left because I was bad to her. She left because she assumed I'd always be there. A fixture. A background character in her personal story of growth. She didn't expect me to rewrite the story without her. 2 days later, I sent her one message. Just one. Me. The unit is cleared. Your remaining box is in storage. I'll send you the address and code. After that, we're done. No sign-off. No warmth. She replied within minutes. She said, "You don't even want to talk?" Just like that. I didn't reply. She messaged again. "You really don't care at all?" But I did care. Just not in the way she hoped. I cared enough to walk away. I cared enough to grow into someone who no longer needed closure from the person who broke things in the first place. I cared enough to take back control over my own peace, my own space, my own future. And I knew, she would show up one last time. Which is exactly what happened the following Sunday. I was eating lunch on the small balcony of my new place. A turkey sandwich, nothing fancy, when my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. Then it rang again. And again. The fourth time, I picked it up. Not to answer, just to block the number. But when I glanced down to confirm, I saw the voicemail transcribe on the lock screen. "I'm outside. Please, just talk to me." I didn't move. Didn't even blink for a second. Just stared out over the park, watching a couple walk their dog down the gravel path. The air had that crispness that only shows up for a few weeks in early fall, like the world can't decide if it wants to hold on to summer or move forward. I knew the feeling. Another voicemail. "Nate, I know you're there. I'm not here to argue. I made mistakes. I know that now. I've been spiraling since we broke up, and I need you to hear me out. Please don't shut me out." I should have ignored it, but I didn't. I stood, took one long breath, and walked to the front door. My building had a small lobby with glass windows, and through them, I could see her, Kayla, standing by the elevator, fidgeting with her jacket sleeves. She looked smaller, not physically, just diminished. Gone was the glowing, confident woman who used to command every room she walked into. What stood there now was someone nervous, hesitant, even a little scared. I stepped out slowly, and the moment she saw me, her face lit up, like hope had landed hard in her chest. She took a step forward. "Hey." "Hi," I said. My voice came out flatter than I expected. "I didn't know if you'd come down." I almost didn't. She gave a half laugh, half sigh, like she knew she deserved that. "Can we talk?" "Just 5 minutes." I hesitated, but I nodded. We walked to the park across the street, and I stayed quiet, waiting for her to speak first. She sat on the bench and folded her hands in her lap like she was about to pray. "I know I messed up," she said softly. "I know what I said, about needing time, about wanting to explore, everything. It was selfish. But I didn't mean for it to be a breakup. I felt lost. And Josh wasn't what I thought. I realized that really fast. I kept my gaze ahead, watching the wind stir the branches. "This isn't about Josh." "I know," she whispered. "It's about how I treated you. How I assumed you'd always be there. And I hate that I made you feel like you weren't enough. Because you were. You always were." I didn't speak. Not yet. She turned to me, eyes glassy but no tears yet. "I miss you. Not just what we had, you. The way you made me feel safe. The way you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I was stupid to walk away from that. I thought I needed more, but I already had everything I could have wanted." That one landed. I felt it in my ribs. But I also remembered the journal entry. He's too good for that. Maybe that's the problem. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself that felt stable when I was around. And the part she hated, the predictability, the comfort, the quiet, that was me. "I've changed, Kayla," I finally said. "In ways you didn't expect. And maybe in ways you wouldn't even like. I want to try again," she said, her voice shaking. "Whatever it takes. I'll move slow. I'll prove it to you." I turned to look her in the eyes. "You don't get to prove anything to me anymore. That part of my life. It's over." Her lips parted like she'd just taken a blow she hadn't braced for. "You don't mean that," she said, almost breathless. "You're just hurt. We can fix this." I stood. "You broke something that doesn't get fixed. I gave you everything, and you asked for time to explore. I gave you that. And now I'm giving myself something you never did." "What?" "Closure." She stood, panicked. "Nate, please, don't just walk away." "I'm not just walking away," I said, stepping back. I already did. I turned, walked back toward the street. I didn't check to see if she followed. I didn't need to, because this time, I wasn't the one who was lost. I walked back across the street, the gravel crunching quietly beneath my shoes, and slipped into the front door of my building without looking back. I didn't need to. I knew she was still sitting on that bench, stunned into silence. The kind of silence that finally lets a person hear themselves clearly. I took the elevator up to the fourth floor. My new place was smaller than the one we used to share, but it felt bigger somehow. Maybe because there was nothing weighing it down, no invisible pressure, no tension stuffed between couch cushions or echoing off the walls. Just me, and the new life I'd quietly built from the pieces she left scattered on the floor. I sat down at my desk, right by the window that looked out at the trees in the park. I could see the bench from here, actually. I saw her stand. Saw her look up at the building, like maybe she expected to catch a glimpse of me through the glass. I didn't move. Eventually, she left. She didn't look back either. I don't know how long she walked or where she went, and for the first time in 4 years, I didn't care. Not in a bitter way, just in that clean, weightless way that only comes after closure has finished stitching itself up. I wish I could tell you that I felt triumphant. Like some Hollywood ending where the hero closes the door on their past and steps into the golden light of freedom. But the truth was quieter, more personal. I just felt still, not frozen, not numb. Still, like I'd finally exhaled after holding my breath for far too long. The next few weeks moved on with a strange kind of peace. My days weren't filled with dramatic revelations or bold declarations. They were filled with normal things. Grocery runs, client meetings, lazy Sunday mornings where I'd make coffee and watch people walk their dogs from my window. I started going to the gym again, something I'd stopped doing when we lived together because our schedules never lined up and I always felt guilty taking me time when she wanted to go out or talk or vent. I found myself reconnecting with friends I hadn't seen in ages. Turns out, people notice when you vanish into a relationship that slowly swallows your identity. Jason, my best friend since high school, invited me out for drinks one night, and after a couple of beers, he leaned in and said, "You look lighter, man. Like you finally dropped 100 pounds of emotional weight." I laughed. "Only 100? He grinned. "I'm being generous." We talked more that night than we had in the last 2 years. And for the first time, I admitted things I hadn't even admitted to myself while I was in the relationship. How I'd stopped writing. How I'd pulled back from my own goals to support hers. How I'd adjusted to avoid conflict. How I'd said, "It's fine," so often that the words lost meaning. He listened. No judgment. Just the way a real friend does. "You didn't just lose her," he said. "You got yourself back." And that stuck with me. Because it was true. That month, I opened a new document on my laptop and started writing again. Not journaling. Not venting. Actual writing. Short stories. Pieces of dialogue. Fictional characters who said the things I was always too polite to say. The words came out rusty at first, clunky. But they came. And they kept coming. Like a flood that had been dammed up for too long. One story in particular stuck with me. It was about a guy who lived in a lighthouse, totally alone, surrounded by silence, but perfectly content. People kept showing up at his door asking for help, and he always let them in. Until one day, someone tried to steal the lamp from the top of the tower. That was the moment he realized. Some people don't come to share your light. They come to take it. I didn't realize it at first, but I was writing about myself. And Kayla. And everyone who ever saw my stability as a resource instead of a relationship. I sent the story to a small online journal. Didn't expect much. A week later, they emailed me back. "We'd love to publish it." It wasn't a book deal. It wasn't a viral sensation. But it meant something. It meant the version of me I thought I'd lost was still there, just buried. Waiting. Patient like always. About 2 months after that day in the park, I got a letter in the mail. Not a text. Not an email. An actual letter. Handwritten, addressed to me in looping script I recognized instantly. "Kayla." I debated throwing it away. Honestly, I did. But curiosity wins more often than I care to admit. I opened it. It wasn't long. Just 1 page. "Nate, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. And I don't expect a reply. I just wanted to say something I never said clearly. Thank you. For being good to me when I didn't deserve it. For seeing the best in me even when I refused to see it myself. I've been doing a lot of thinking. And I realize now that what I thought I wanted, freedom, excitement, possibility, wasn't the thing I was actually missing. I was missing peace. And I didn't realize until it was gone that you were peace. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope that wherever you are, you're doing well. That you're happy. That you're creating. Thank you for loving me when I didn't know how to love myself. Okay, I read it twice, and then I slid it into the bottom drawer of my desk, right under a folder labeled Old Receipts. Not because I needed to hold on to it, but because I no longer needed to throw it away either. It was just something that happened, part of the past, and that's all it would ever be. Fast forward to now, almost a year later, and I can tell you this with absolute certainty. Letting someone go doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes, it's just a quiet decision you make over and over again. Every day you choose your own peace over someone else's chaos. Every morning you wake up and don't reach for your phone, hoping they texted. Every time you look in the mirror and see someone whole again. I still don't have all the answers. Still don't know what the future holds. But I know who I am now. And I know that I will never again shrink myself for someone who only loved me when I was easy to carry. Kayla walked away to explore her options, and I gave her all the time in the world. She came back hoping for the same old version of me. But I'd already moved on, packed up, and started over. Her name? It's not on the lease. Not on the mail. Not in the margins of my notebooks. Not in my life. Not anymore. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.